Are you tired of the cookie-cutter approach to education that's stuck in the last century? Are you seeking a win-win situation where your family thrives, your kid's education is revolutionary, and you still get to chase your own dreams? Welcome to Unschooled Unleashed. Unlock your child's genius. I'm your host, Matthew Jarecki, an unapologetic rebel dad and promoter of what many consider to be educational anarchy. You know the world isn't going to be won by those that just toe the line. It's the innovators, the visionaries, and the resilient spirits that are going to thrive. Our mission here is to forge those world changers within our very homes with less stress, energy, and time. Unschooled Unleashed starts now. Welcome back to another fantastic episode of Unschooled Unleashed. Today, we're talking about how exactly we use technology in our home education journey. And this is everything from language learning to logic games and beyond. We're going to talk about the right tools that make learning faster, more fun, and way more effective than traditional schools can. All right, specifically the technology we use. We're going to make recommendations, or I'm going to tell you what I use in my home education journey with a 6, 9, and 11-year-old. So if that sounds something that's valuable to you, stay tuned because I've got an episode for you, and let's dive in. Today, we're going to talk about how and why we use technology to accelerate our kids' learning, how we build essential skills with technology, and how we stay aligned with our core values of intentional unschooling. And we do all this without letting tech take over our lives, because I think there's some major value in limiting technology. We still have to live in the real world, right? A little bit of background as far as me. Some things I've mentioned before. Early on in my career, I got involved in technology. This was in the late 90s. And I've stayed kind of up to date with it, meaning just paying attention on how I can utilize technology to be more efficient and really just have an edge with it. Well, when we apply that to education in 2025, wow, is it incredible. It's better than it's ever been. And I think that's obvious that with the rise of artificial intelligence, we have a personalized tutor in any subject on the planet that you can ever ask for. They have a tutor that's a PhD who can talk on a 5th grade level. And, speaking to the novice, essentially is what I'm saying. They can teach at a novice level, even though it's at a PhD level or higher. I don't know if you can get higher than PhD, but a PhD level, we'll say. That's incredible. And that's accessible now in some ways. Not every way, but in many ways. And it's only getting better, and it's going to accelerate faster than you can ever imagine. There's a technological revolution for education happening right now. And I, for one, am planning on taking full advantage of it. And here's why. So let's jump into our first topic. So why we use technology to do education at home. Technology makes learning more engaging, efficient, and adaptive. More engaging, efficient, and adaptive. And this is way beyond what most schools offer, okay? Many of the tools that we use are gamified, so that keeps them engaged. It's personalized, meaning it's going to adjust up or down. It's adaptive. It's going to adjust the difficulty up or down based on how they're doing, what they're interested in. It's flexible, meaning we can come and go as we please at any time of the day. And this all helps our kids stay motivated and progress faster. We can do that with less time. It's very efficient. For example, a child who might be struggling with math in school might start using an app that teaches it that's adaptive, and then suddenly understands all the things that they didn't understand. Like for me, when I was in 4th grade, it would have been very helpful for me to have an app that taught me fractions, because when I missed a week of school, the week that we learned fractions, I came into school a week later and got a stack of worksheets and told to read a couple chapters, and that was going to get me up to speed on fractions. Are you kidding me? I think it was 4th grade. I'm just going to be able to just teach myself fractions like that? Yeah, I'm sure I could if I spent enough time with it, but I have to keep up with everything we had in school currently that week in addition to learning fractions without help. Thanks, school. My teacher literally just handed it to me, and I'm sitting there with, probably fear in my eyes, and, their hands are tied in some ways, but this is the system we choose to sign up for. No way. If I had technology to be able to teach me these basic concepts, where I don't even need involvement from an adult at that point, and it teaches me to help me understand it, and then I pull out the worksheets, if I was in school, like I was, then I would have had some kind of foundation, and it would have changed my whole perspective on how I felt about myself regarding math. I got somewhat of a complex that I thought I was bad at math simply because I missed a week of school in 1990 or whatever it was, 1995, or probably, I don't know. I can't do the math in my head because I missed that week. Just kidding. Anyways, that would have been really helpful for me. I don't want other people to have to go through that. It took me until my mid-20s to realize that I actually enjoy math, and I'm actually pretty good at it. Wow, that was an opportunity missed. That might have changed my whole life, but, here I am, and I'm happy. So, not upset about it. But I don't want to limit my kids, and I don't want your kids to be limited either. So, I think that giving our kids the ability to learn autonomously on their own is a game changer. If you really think back to any kind of technology revolution, you find that many of these people who invented technologies were self-taught. And how did they self-teach? Books. Books were how you learned without another person being there. That all changed when we started getting technology, like having access to the internet, apps, artificial intelligence, program software. All these things started to change the game where we could actually be more efficient with our learning, meaning we could skip the parts that we already know and really accelerate how fast we can learn, or the amount of time we spend on it. We can spend less time, and then we have more time for other things. I think that's incredible. That's why we use technology. It can work miracles. It is not the solution to everything. I do not want to make this a panacea. I want to be very clear that technology has a role, okay? But it is, and it's a fantastic opportunity, but it's not everything. So kids still need personal involvement, one-on-one with someone, talking with them about it, engaging with them. We seek human connection. It can't just be all technology. Group stuff, a whole bunch of kids learning stuff together. We still get involved with all that. So I don't want to make it sound like we only use technology. However, I think the future is this. It's going to revolutionize the entire landscape. Colleges, public education, anywhere. It's going to be cheaper and more effective if we adapt. And I personally am not waiting for schools to adapt. I'm doing it myself. Moving on. How using technology to educate at home aligns with intentional unschooling. So if you're not familiar with the intentional unschooling philosophy, essentially, this is something that a phrase that I came up with, or a term that I came up with. And what it is we're going to use all the principles of unschooling, but we're going to be intentional as parents to walk our kids through their education, meaning we're going to let them choose what they want to learn. So it's going to be interest-based, self-directed. But us as parents, our job is to point out where there might be some valuable lessons, right? Like learning math. You want to kind of point out like, hey, look, you need math for engineering. You need math to be an astronaut. You need math for being a doctor or a scientist, all this stuff, right? Your job is to expose them as well to different disciplines. So if they've never really been exposed to math, get them interested in math by kind of playing it up a little bit. So we're pointing it out, saying, here's where you can use it in the future. Here's where it's valuable now. Here's how it's fun. Here's how do you think about it. And we're really engaging with them. We're also walking alongside them. being a facilitator. It's the type of parenting style that's called authoritative. Authoritative, where we're facilitating, not top-down instruction. We're not telling them what to do. Okay. We are going to provide resources to our children. So when they're interested in something, we're just going to give them a ton of resources on how to do that. And that might be time with us too. But for the purpose of this podcast, it's technology. Okay. We're going to give them ways they can learn on their own. So we're going to give them a bunch of books, but all these different things we can do with iPads and computers and phones and all this stuff is incredible. So as far as technology is concerned, technology tools, for lack of a better term, honor our kids' autonomy by letting them choose what and when to learn, diving deep into their real interests. And I think that's fantastic. I think that's exactly what we want. That's aligning with the unschooling principles. They give our children real control over their learning, and this is something that a mandatory curriculum cannot offer at all. That's not the way schools work. And I believe this to be, unschooling, to be more efficient because kids are engaged, and then multiply that times technology, boom. You got some really cool opportunities. Let's see here. I'm going to jump to languages we're learning through tech. So right now, our family, I'll say family, the kids mainly, but they're really into learning Spanish and German. And this is taught using apps and online tools. For example, we're using Duolingo. And we're currently doing a free trial for the Max subscription family plan, which is, pricey. I think it's like $200 a year. But I want to see if my kids were really into it. They've been doing Duolingo for a while, and they're speaking Spanish and German in our house. I've had almost zero involvement with this, except for using the limited Spanish and German that I know. The app's interactive. It's audio rich. You have an AI person that you can talk with to practice in certain languages. It's all gamified. They get XP. You can even create a classroom to have all your kids in there, and they can compete against each other. You can assign like different XP in this classroom. It's really cool. The only thing is that they get removed from the leaderboard, like the public leaderboard, if they join the classroom, which kind of stinks. And so I might close the classroom and just let them do the public leaderboard. But either way, it's really cool. And if my kids are truly going to be engaged, we're going to sign up for a monthly subscription. So language through tech, and I don't even have to do much. We did this this afternoon. We were focusing on languages. We're also going to probably use like some of their favorite shows that they've watched a million times and just put it in Spanish or German and let them pick up on it and get exposure that way. And that's something else we're going to do once they get a little bit more involved with it. Moving on, tech that matches their interest and builds real-world skills. So we align any kind of tech tools that we're using to their natural interests. So this could be coding, science, music, space, engineering, strategy games, and so on. I mean, anything. These tools build transferable skills like logic, reasoning, problem solving, adaptability. I think it's fantastic. These are, I like to focus on these meta skills that we can apply anywhere, especially at a young age. I want them to get exposed to everything. I want them to continue learning real, like specific things. But these, for example, like how to code, that's very specific. You're learning Python. But these meta skills, these things that can apply anywhere. If you're working in the hospital, you want to be a problem solver. You want to be highly adaptive. You want logical reasoning. If you're working in your own business, you want the same skills. If you're working for someone else, just doing some kind of task what employer does not want someone who's able to logically reason, problem solve, and adaptable. I mean, these are the tools of the future that my children are going to have, is what I hope to provide. These are also the tools that schools are in the United States are very deficient in. Think about it. Logical reasoning. Okay. It's probably one of the stronger ones, as well as problem solving, but adaptability? No. Creativity is another one I didn't mention. No. Innovation? No. In fact, the structure of schools inhibit those last two. And I don't want anything to do with that. Moving on. Balancing tech with free play and creativity. This is a challenge. So if I allow my kids to use a screen, they guarantee will use it 95% of the time. So we restrict tech in the morning to allow unstructured play, which helps build imagination. They're interacting with people, creativity building time as well. That's what the literature says is play in the morning for young children helps build that. So with this balance, where we restrict screens and different technology or whatever we're using to the afternoon, we kind of have a flow of the day. Kids crave routine, and they kind of know what to expect, and it primes their brain. And what I want to do is also give them good habits. So sitting on screens in the morning is probably not that great for them. Okay. Getting out there and being creative and using your brain and physically interacting with the world is a skill I want to build too. But I also want to use technology. So again, that's how we balance it in our household. It ensures that tech doesn't replace hands-on learning or social interaction and instead just complements it. I don't want it taking over everything. But I do want them to be very tech savvy. And some of the things that we also do is use whatever they're into in the mornings to make it an activity, and we learn together, right? I might actually get involved. So Lego building might turn into a morning of learning about physics and structural integrity of a building and whatever else you can pull from that. Engineering, maybe. A lot of fun stuff. And we might sometimes we'll pull out videos and watch them because they can more succinctly explain something than I might be able to. I don't know. Sometimes it works better. But we do try and limit it. Moving on, why using technology works, or using technology and with unschooling principles works better than traditional schooling. So I already started to go off on my rant about this. I get ahead of myself all the time. But schools treat everyone the same. Okay? Tech tools, though, are personalized and adapt to the child's level, interest, and pace. Wow. Mind-blowing. Isn't that what you want? I mean, these are the goals, and yet it's 2025 and schools aren't using this. We need to go back and think about this. Kids aren't held back, all right? They're not bored. They're engaged because it's personal. They know they're being challenged. They can pick it up when they want. They can put it down when they want. But kids are naturally curious. They want to pick it up. They want to learn. That's what I was. That's what people I see. Anyone who's really good at something, it started with curiosity and they just started doing it, learned about it, and now they're really good at it. You see it over and over again. I know everything that I'm doing is built off curiosity. And then when I figure out maybe a solution to some problem, I start getting creative and boom, it starts to transform. I reject the whole ways, the structure of schools. If you look into the history, it was built for factory workers in the United States. It was built to train factory workers and quote unquote, tame the American spirit. Meaning we were too independent. We showed up late to things, or when we wanted, maybe we wouldn't even show up. They wanted to train the future generations for the future workforce, which meant show up on time, do what you're told, when the bell rings, switch machines or switch classes. And, this was to provide a basic education for the future workforce, as well as to, I won't go into some of the details, but that was one of the main reasons. Well, That's not 2025. That's not the future by any means. It hasn't been that way for quite a few decades. The people who thrive in today's world are the people who are able to be starters, right? They're intrinsically motivated. The people who are creative, the people who are problem solvers, the people who are good communicators. Notice these are high level skills, these meta skills. These are the innovators. These are the people who are highly sought after. Yet school is not going to help you in any of these ways, for the most part. There are exceptions to every rule, but again, the rule is do what you're told. How can you have creativity and innovation if you're just doing what you're told? How are you a problem solver if they're forcing the question that you have to answer, and then you begin to resent trying to find the solution? You hate problem solving because problem solving means hard work that you don't want to do. But when it's fun and engaging, it's the exact opposite. It's dopamine hit. It's fun, you know? Schools, I could go on all day about all the problems in schools, but if I had to filter it down to one thing, it is that most kids, now there are a sliver of kids, little few kids that are right on pace with what the teacher's teaching, but there's a ton of subjects they have to learn. Okay, so the odds of a kid being in that little sliver and all the topics that they're discussing throughout the school week, they're going to be outside of that little sliver where they're engaged, okay? Most kids will fall into one of two categories in any subject. They're either overwhelmed because they're behind. They don't understand it. They missed something and the class moved on. They're not going to stop for you. And if they do, guess what happens? The people who already get it, the kids who already get it, who could be engaged if you kept up with their pace, are now disengaged. They're bored. These are C students at times. I was a C student because I was not engaged. I was not interested in what I had to learn, one, and I was not engaged because I was bored. I could have learned all this in weeks. I learned up to ninth grade math in 3 weeks. Wild story that I've mentioned many times on this podcast, but it was really eye-opening for me. How much time do we spend on this stuff? Schools are not designed for the child. It's designed for a whole bunch of other stuff that I won't go into. Because if we designed it for the child, it would be personalized learning, interest-based, at their pace, at their level. We wouldn't put all this pressure on them. We would make it fun and engaging because that's what you want as a child. Moving on. Our tech philosophy. All right. It's tools, not babysitters. So we don't use screens to distract. Now, don't get me wrong. Every once in a while, it's like we need a calm day. Like my wife is now working from home. And if I have to work that day, which is a new thing for us, our kids have to be quiet because we don't have a lot of space right now. So one of the things we did was allowed them to use screens a little bit more that day. But here's the thing. We try not to do that. Okay. It's tools, not babysitters. So essentially, like, we still follow the same routine. We might go on screens a little bit earlier just to keep them a little bit more engaged. But the days that we don't do it, we're going to try and use screens a little bit less. Okay. So we don't want them to just be distracted with screens. We're not just going to hand them that when they're complaining or when they're, let them be bored for a little bit. And if they want to use screen, and then at 2:00, if you want them to use screens, let them use screens. Tech is just a part of our toolbox, just like books, projects, or experiences. It's not the only thing that we do. And we certainly don't want, we want to be engaged with our children. We want to know what they're learning. we have to be responsible parents. We want to lead them as well, without taking it over, because we want them to be empowered. Excuse me. And what I don't want to do is be a disengaged parent by just handing my kids screens and thinking that everything is going to be okay. You have no idea. You got to kind of pay attention. I think it's the easiest way to teach your kids using intentional unschooling, but also it's the heaviest load you can take in the unschooling philosophy. So, but I think it's way more stress-free, and I think it's actually way more fun, personally. Room to grow. So that's the next topic. Always exploring new resources to be able to do this better. So we're always looking for better tools. It's effective. If it's effective, we're going to try it, as long as it aligns with our philosophy. I'd love, and this is just a challenge for you guys, to hear what you're using and what's working in your families. So if there's something that's working for you, visit our Facebook at Unschooled Unleashed and drop it in there so everyone can see it. And I would love to evaluate that in my class, my home education world. One thing that we haven't been able to find that I know is out there somewhere, I just haven't been able to find it, is just a la carte courses. So if you know of an online program that has a la carte courses where we just kind of get to choose, and there's also maybe some testing of knowledge in some way, like a way to assess their knowledge of a topic, that would be great. The tests don't have to be mandatory, and I would love like a dashboard where I can see what they're doing. Now, I know there's a ton of curriculums out there, but I really don't want to spend a whole bunch of money on a 5th grade curriculum when my kid is doing 8th grade math, but is at 3rd grade reading level. In unschooling, that's what you deal with sometimes. Not that my kids are there, I have no idea. But I want something that can be at any grade level where they can understand something. And that's why I'm avoiding the curriculum as of now. But I would love to have something available. So if you got any recommendations, drop it on our Facebook group or our X. And there's a link to all of our stuff, all of our socials in the description. Preparing kids for the future with the right tech today. So tech is a core part of future careers. Our kids are learning how to use it creatively and not just passively. Okay, I want to train them for the future. A lot of the future is working with technology, so they're building confidence, independence, and the ability to teach themselves using this technology, and they're building all these things almost autonomously to a point, right? That are essential for tomorrow's workforce, and I think that's great. Definitely don't want to slow them down. Last thing I want to talk about is just to kind of run through the specific apps, programs, resources that we use that are tech focused and available outside of just you have to use electricity to use it or engage with it. So some of the things that we use. Khan Academy teaches almost every subject you can imagine. I heard, I don't know if this is true, but it's, I think it was like in Reddit or something. I don't know if you can trust what this person's saying, but I've heard you can replace an entire curriculum through high school just using Khan Academy because it teaches anything from math, science, history, grammar, SAT prep, anything, all for free. And I think that's fantastic. Khan Academy Kids is also something we use. This builds early skills in reading, math, science, logic, but it's designed for younger children. I'm not sure the age. You'd have to look it up, but my 6-year-old is very engaged in Khan Academy Kids, so I'd recommend it for a 6-year-old. But I think my boys are starting to grow out of it. My boys are 9 and 11. Brilliant.org is another one that's great for math, puzzles, logic, strategy. It's it's like a math class that's redesigned for problem solvers. And again, I want to create problem solvers, right? That's very valuable in the economy. And especially when we look out into the future and, half the workforce is freelancers or entrepreneurs. Those are the problem solvers. Those are the creative people, the innovators, the people who find a solution to something that's getting in people's way. So I really want problem solvers, and using logic, I think, is really great. Synthesis Teams also it develops problem-solving, teamwork, communication, and logic through competitive simulations. And we subscribe to this. It's a little expensive. I will provide a link below because we will. Actually, there's no affiliate link for that one. But Synthesis Teams is about $95 a month as of the release date of this episode. And I think there's some, if you go on Facebook or something like that, I've seen ads for like half off. So search around. But this is fantastic for getting your kids online and engaged with other kids, asking big questions, working through logic. It's fantastic. I advertise this one all the time because I am just really impressed with it. Along with that is Synthesis Tutor. Synthesis Tutor teaches the basics of math, like has the theory of math. So they get a firm understanding of the theory, which is what a lot of kids miss. So even if you're in school, I think this is a great thing, as long as your kids are going to be engaged. This one does have an affiliate link below. I'll provide that. So it actually is going to give me money off my subscription that I have for my children for Synthesis Tutor. There is a free part of it that allows your kids to learn multiplication, and it's adaptive, so it's going to adjust based off their skill level, which is really cool. And that's actually, since it was free, I actually told my oldest, I'll give you Synthesis Tutor if you memorize the multiplication tables through the 15s. And he did. And he did that on the free version. He also used, and this is another app we use, Space Pigs. Space Pigs is an app that is gamified, and Synthesis Tutor is gamified too, but this one's, you'll see what I'm talking about if you download it. It's literally like a shooter game, and you have to shoot the right answer. I think it's pigs from the sky. I can't remember. But it teaches multiplication, and it's all gamified. There's a leaderboard and all this stuff, so it's adaptive as well, if I remember right. But gamifying some of this stuff that's, was really difficult for me to memorize the times tables because it was just so much and overwhelming and boring. Gamifying it, I don't see anything wrong with that. There's something to be said to go through something hard, but I'm going to reserve going through something hard for things that they are super motivated to do. Something bigger. Typing Club is something we use, and it built our kids' typing skills naturally and playfully. It's gamified as well. I think that's great. freecodingcamp.org and Khan Academy are great for coding. Teaches, I won't go into all the coding stuff, but it comes in bite-sized projects. Good for kids. We use TV. Science Max is something we watched a lot of when my kids were a lot younger, but it's still appropriate even probably for my kids today. How It's Made is another one. Science Max is on YouTube. How It's Made, I can't remember what channel has that, but we use that, and sometimes it's on one of those free channels, local over the antenna. Documentaries teach a ton of stuff too. We learn a lot of history through documentaries, and but you can teach anything from science, engineering, innovation, history in a way that sticks, where they remember it using these ways, and it's very easy. So I'm going to stop there. I'm at risk of making this episode incredibly long. I'm trying to make sure they're around 30 minutes. So some actionable tips for you is just try getting, wherever your kid might be interested, find an app, find some software, find something that might engage them, like Brilliant for math, logic, or Synthesis Teams or Tutor. All these things can be great. Try out what works. Make screen time intentional. I recommend afternoon, and use mornings for creativity, play, socialization, that kind of stuff, getting outside. Let your kids pick the tools based on their interest and make everything easier. Watch educational shows together, spark real conversations. Again, doing the authoritative parenting style, not the authoritarian, where you're telling them what to do like schools do. No, you're walking through it with them and you're discovering with them together. If there's something you don't know about and you're interested, learn together. I think that'd be a lot of fun. So, in conclusion, it's not about distraction. Technology is a tool that, when used with intention, can be very powerful. So if you align your tech use with your kids' interest, you're unlocking their potential, preparing them for the future, and making learning something I think they'll actually look forward to. So with that, I'm going to end today's episode. So stay curious, stay unschooled, and stay away from the algebra nightmares. I'll catch you in the next episode. So here's where we roll up our sleeves and bring out the big guns. If you support our mission, then please leave a review. On Unschooled Unleashed, we are talking about using a radical approach to education in today's world, and the more 5-star reviews we have, the more people will feel comfortable with the ideas, strategies, and principles we discuss. It gives legitimacy to our message, and the podcast's algorithm prioritizes us so we can reach more people. You may even have your 5-star review read on our podcast. Before I let you go, I have to pause and say this from the bottom of my heart. Thank you. Your presence here is the fuel that ignites this movement. I am incredibly moved that you trust in us enough to click play. You, my friends, are the caped heroes in this story, the guardians of your family's learning journey, and a beacon of hope for your community. Be bold. Do what you think is best for you and your family. Thanks again for tuning in and taking this courageous leap outside of the box for this educational revolution. Welcome to the front line.